thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Gin and tonic or cup of tea in the hand, whichever works. So, okay, we're going to spend about 20 minutes or so sharing a little bit about the history and most importantly, obviously, what your clients can enjoy when they go visiting Blenheim Palace. And then please do ask questions. This is all about you. We want you to really experience and understand what your clients can enjoy when they visit. So ask lots of questions. Lisa will be keeping an eye out, so either use the chat room or wave at us madly and we will answer your questions. There'll be a Q&A session at the end, so so please do make sure that we fully answer. So we are recording this session, so at the end we will send you the recording, the presentation that you've seen, the video clips that we're going to share with you, so that you are fully armed and equipped to share all of these with your clients. And please do let us know, obviously, afterwards if there is anything else that that you would like to know, and we will be happy to help. A little introduction. Chloe is very used to Humphreys, but a little introduction to Humphreys of Henley. We are very proud to be the only concierge specialising in the British countryside. And we all live, work and play here. We love exploring new places and old places. And that's why we're able to offer you the privileged access to the likes of Blenheim and Highclere and even Windsor Castle, but also happily introduce you to Lords of the Manor, and your clients can have afternoon tea, not necessarily at Blenheim, but certainly at other rather fabulous stately homes around the country. And Blenheim, as with a lot of these things, can form part of a really fabulous itinerary. So whether it's a quick 2-day visit or through to 7 14-day itineraries, we can help and advise and make recommendations for every detail. So allowing for the travel time, allowing for the special interests and passions that that your clients want to fulfill. We know pretty much all there is to know. We're still learning, but we're happy to share everything with you. And as part of the information that we share with you afterwards, Blenheim, as part of 2 long itineraries, will be included, so you can see how it all works. Now, Blenheim is probably a real favourite for all of us, and we were really lucky that we did a day's filming there just before lockdown, which was fantastic. It might have been a tad chilly, but it was absolutely beautiful. And I'm lucky enough, Lisa's the same, lucky enough to have been many times, and it still makes you catch your breath as you come round the corner and you catch the first glimpse of this incredible palace. It's quite extraordinary. So just to share a little bit of history, it is the family home of the Duke of Marlborough. Currently the 12th Duke lives there. And the land was given to the first Duke of Marlborough in 1704, when he had just won an incredible battle, the Battle of Blenheim, as part of the War of Spanish Succession. And Queen Anne was rather grateful, to put it mildly, because it really restored the glory of the crown, and she gave him these 2,000 acres and said, please build a rather spectacular house. Now there's a wonderful story about how it was built and so on, and no budget was set extraordinarily, so it got rather expensive, but the result that we have today, and that the palace that we can visit today is absolutely extraordinary, and I think we're incredibly lucky. And as of the time, it was the 3rd Duke who employed the services of Lancelot Capability Brown, who's a rather famous landscape garden designer, and his real genius is that he creates the most incredible parkland and grounds around so many of the stately homes. Highclere, again, that we're going to talk about on Wednesday. And he makes it look as though it's purely natural, but it's not. He's designed and created it. And it really is a fantastic, fantastic result. So the War of, excuse me, the War of Spanish Succession was very significant for us over here in Britain, because France were gaining the upper hand over the Holy Roman Emperor at the beginning of the 18th century, and it looked like we were going to see a French victory. But the Battle of Blenheim that the Duke of Marlborough led was absolutely huge and resulted in the French being defeated, which is why, and you can see the memorial in the picture there, and there's a rather splendid looking Duke of Marlborough perched on the top that you can go and see when you visit the grounds. And they also contributed in a small way, and a bit later, the ninth Duke, to the so-called special relationship between us and the US. He married Consuelo Vanderbilt for one very simple reason. She brought a dowry of £2.5 million. And money was rather tight at the time. It was the turn of the 19th century. And it was a really very sad, loveless marriage, unfortunately, but they did produce a son and heir before they went off on their separate ways. But there are quite a lot of these dollar princess stories across the country. So the Americans did save a huge number of our stately homes. And it's the only palace that has A, nothing to do with the royal family, or B, nothing to do with the church. So it's the only non-royal and non-ecclesiastical palace in the country. So a little bit of a factual history for you. Now, one of the really famous reasons that so many people want to go and visit is that it was the birthplace of the chap that was voted our greatest Briton just a couple of years ago, Winston Churchill. And he very famously said that he made his two best decisions at Blenheim. One was to be born and the other one was to be married. And it's rather sweet because he engineered an invitation for him and his future wife, Clementine, to be invited for a weekend. And he took her down to the Rose Garden and was going to propose there. But the good old British weather intervened. So they sheltered from a rain shower in the Temple of Diana, and he proposed and she said yes. So happiness all round. And I mean, his role in British history is huge, particularly in that post-war era when Roosevelt and he were negotiating with Stalin and trying to achieve the best result for all of us, hopefully. So it's fabulous, and you can see just the part of a path behind the statue, and there's this fabulous path that maps the whole of Churchill's life. And you can see his the bedroom in which he was born, which is probably a bit smaller than most of us would imagine. And the Churchill exhibition is stunning. It is an absolute treasure trove of memorabilia and information, without being horribly museum-like, if I dare say it. It's been curated really beautifully. So if you've got a bit of a history fan, then there's certainly lots to see. And as you can see, the rooms are absolutely stunning. So it really does have the wow factor. So what would your clients appreciate and enjoy when they go? There are a number of different ways, from a simply but beautifully done planned day where they would turn up and be greeted by their personal guide, taken around the palace, taken around the grounds. They can enjoy a fabulous lunch in the Orangery, which really does serve superb food nowadays, a lunch or an afternoon tea. And they can easily spend a whole day, because there is so much to see. They can then go one step better, and going by what I understand about your clients, this might be slightly more appropriate, to have a private tour of the private apartments with a butler. Now, there's nothing quite so English as being taken around a stately home or a palace by an English butler. And it is the area where the Duke and his family live. And so they'll really hear the secrets and the stories behind the scenes, which is really rather special. And then the ultimate opportunity is to arrive maybe just after lunch, have a rather lovely private tour of the grounds, and then once the palace has closed, they will be welcomed in by their butler, given a glass of champagne, and taken on a private tour around the staterooms and the exhibition, and they can linger in their places, their favourite places, and walk past the other ones. But it's their absolutely personal guided tour, and then they can follow it with a rather splendid dinner served obviously by their butler in one of the private dining rooms. It's a magical experience, and a lovely couple chose to do this towards the end of last year, late autumn last year, and it was all in aid of a marriage proposal. Obviously, the lady knew nothing about it, but I'm delighted to say she said yes. And they've even said that on their year's anniversary of the proposal, that they're probably going to go back and spend the night if they can, just to celebrate the happy occasion. So it is quite extraordinary, and a very special thing to do. Excuse me. The grounds are, as we've said, quite extraordinary. The wonderful thing about Blenheim is it really doesn't matter what time of year you go. When we were there a few weeks ago, the daffodils were out, and there was that lovely spring fresh feel. During the summer, it's an absolute sea of colour. It's just wonderful with all of the flowers out. The autumnal colours are utterly magical at that time of year, and then they really go to town at Christmas. And apparently last year they had 100,000 light bulbs creating the Festival of Light at Christmas, which was quite extraordinary. So we can show you some images of that with you. But it's beautiful at all times of year, which is rather lovely. So this is just a little bit of footage for you of our visit there, and this you can see. I mean, the paintings, the carvings, the tapestries, and so on are magnificent. That's the Great Hall. This is the saloon that was designed specifically for the first Duke to entertain all of his most important guests. So it really is very splendid. And the Long Library, which is fabulous. Lots of parties and all sorts, with the statue of Queen Anne standing in pride of place at one end, as by means of a thank you from the first Duchess, and just some images from the outside. It is quite awe-inspiring, the design and so on. Now we've got we've got the first 2 episodes of Humphreys TV from Blenheim on the website, and we'll send you the links to those. The next one, Humphreys TV, is always released on a Friday, so the next one will be coming out then. But it's well worth it for a little look inside and out, which is rather lovely. And as I mentioned earlier, Blenheim can form part of a really fabulous itinerary, and we'll build it around what your clients would like to do. But location-wise, it's just north of Oxford, so you're just getting into the Cotswolds at that point. So it's about an hour and a half or so from London, so it's perfectly doable in a day, or they can jump into a helicopter at Battersea and fly over there. So that's obviously quite a bit quicker. Alternatively, if they're staying somewhere like Clifton House or Heckfield, it's about an hour or so. Le Manoir is closer, probably 20 minutes or so away. So there are some fabulous hotels close by, but also it's really easy to access Bath, Stonehenge, the Cotswolds and so on. And we'd happily recommend the best places to go from there. And this is just to give you a bit of a feel for how a day might look. As I say, you know, they're all done individually, but arriving at Blenheim for the morning tour, following obviously your coffee and pastries to keep you going, and then in the afternoon enjoying the private tour of the apartments, and at the end either carry on having a bit of a wander around the grounds, or wander into Woodstock, which is the beautiful old market town that neighbours the Blenheim estate. So it's the timings can be, you know, we can do it either way round, but that will give you a feel for what is possible. And in terms of the prices, again, it's flexible, but this will give you a ballpark figure from the guided tour and afternoon tea in the Orangery, through to including the private apartments and their time with their own personal butler, through to that fabulous private tour, followed by the evening dinner. So it really is, anything is possible. And the wonderful thing also about Blenheim is they put on a huge number of events, really great events throughout the year. Sadly, most of them have been cancelled this year for obvious reasons, but they really are very special. So so that will give you a feel. And as I say, Humphreys TV is all on the website, and not only have we been to Blenheim, been to Highclere and all sorts of fabulous places around the countryside, doing our filming, and you can find all of that information on either on social or on the website. So that's it for me. So Lisa, if you could unmute everybody, then it would be lovely to hear your questions and observations, please.